Hi, this is Blank Swordsman with Dark Horse Digital Marketing. We're coming at you here from the trail, enjoying a beautiful hike on God's beautiful green earth. A lovely day. And the reason why you tuned into this video is you want to understand how to increase the lifetime value of customers. And the reason why you want to know this is because business lives and dies on this one rule. The cost of acquiring your customers must be less than the lifetime value of a customer. And it's super simple. If it costs you $100 to bring in a customer, well, that customer has to spend at least $100 to break even. And if they spend any less than that, you've created a loss in your business, and that's not sustainable. And so there's 3 levers that you can pull to increase the lifetime value of your business. And so the first one is average order volume. And what this means is that, say a customer spends $50 on average when he comes in, we're trying to increase that ticket to $60, $70. Very simple. One way to visualize it is if you're a restaurant owner, how much more money do you get if each person buys a meal, an appetizer, drinks, and a dessert versus they just buy a meal, right? That's a way larger ticket. And even if you're not a restaurant owner, you can see this because you've been to restaurants, correct? So you know that when you buy just the meal, it's less expensive than if you get the dessert, the drinks, and the appetizer, etc. And so average order volume is one of the levers to increase lifetime value. The second lever is purchase frequency. And so purchase frequency is very simple. We can go back to a restaurant example, and if somebody stops in and at your restaurant once a week, well, if you get them to come twice a week, that's like, instead of spending the time to get a new second customer, you now have that first customer in coming twice. So it's almost like you got 2 customers for the price of 1. So you get them to come in more often. And it doesn't have to be restaurants. It can be whatever. The third, and the more, it's not complex, if you will, but it really just depends on your business. All of these levers really depend on your business. But the third is retention duration. And so if somebody, they come to your restaurant the first year, they love it. And for that first year, they come once a month. But after a year, they get bored. They had a bad experience one time. They leave. Whatever the case may be, that customer's out the door. And now you have to basically put in the work to reacquire them as you would a new customer. So if we can get that customer to be loyal for 2-3 years instead of 1 year, well, then now we can spend more money, spend more effort on the cost of acquiring a customer side of things. If you know guaranteed that you spend $100, you're going to bring this person in for $10,000 of business, well, then you can easily spend $1,000 to acquire that customer, making them more likely to be in motorcycle passing by. I don't even know how you can hear that from down here, but it was enough to distract me. So going back to increasing retention. If you can increase the retention duration for a longer period of time, then you can spend more time and energy into acquiring new customers. And the more time and energy you spend into acquiring new customers, the more customers you have. And that's golden, right? If you give somebody $50 off versus $100 off, and your product is $150, you're going to get more people coming in on that $100 off. It's just common sense. And so when you figure out lifetime value, you have the ability to actually spend more on the other side of the equation, the cost of acquiring customer side. Now, that's not what the Dark Horse method is about. That's just a little treat for you guys to munch on in your entrepreneurial brains. But the most important part I explained the three levers, but that's not enough. Okay, the most important part to this is intellectualizing your business. So if you're Netflix, the lever that is probably most important to you is retention duration. They want you paying that $7.99 till you die, right? I would if I was the Netflix CEO. Like, that makes the most sense. But that does not make sense in a business where you sell products or consumables. You might get a higher lift on your profits by increasing the average order volume or increasing the average purchase frequency. And so one of the most important parts, and this is where you can reach out and maybe we can talk about it, brainstorm together, but intellectualizing your monetization model and understanding which one of those three levers will have the highest impact, because they will all impact your profits. But if we're shooting for the highest return on investment, one of those levers is going to work the best for your business. That's just how it is. One of those levers will give you more ROI than the other two. And so let's focus on the one that makes the most ROI first. And then, you can start hitting other stuff. But intellectualizing your business when thinking about lifetime value, understanding your money model, understanding your numbers, super important, super underrated. And we see a lot of like, they're like local business owners or like entrepreneurs. They don't know any of this stuff. And ultimately their businesses lose. They create loss. They're creating loss every day. They're running around chasing customers that don't care, don't give a fuck about them, don't pay off in the long run. And it's one of those things where once you know this, it makes a lot of sense, and it's very easy to shift your perspective, shift your dynamics in your business. But if you don't know this stuff, if you don't know the three levers, and you don't know your own monetization model, you don't know your own business well enough, well, like, it's very hard to apply this kind of stuff. And so this is basically chapter 2 of the book, and it will be available soon. If you want this book, it's going to be absolutely free. You'll be able to figure things out for yourself, understand monetization models, understand lifetime value, and all of that will come down. It'll all be in chapter 2 of the book. Howdy. You too. So down below in the comments and the descriptions, there is a waiting list. You can put yourself on the email waiting list, and as soon as that book is completed, you'll be one of the first to get your hands on the Dark Horse Method. All right? This is one of the most powerful books ever for your business. It's email marketing, and it's basically how to apply email marketing in a way that you're pulling on one of those three levers for your business. And the reason why this is important is because email, it costs little to nothing to send emails. It's like 1,000 emails for $1, depending on what platform. So if you understand these three levers and you understand how to pull on them with emails, well, guess what? That cost of acquiring customers, it's not going up. It's staying pretty flat, but you're still lifting your profits. And so if you want access to this book, you want access to this program, put your email in the waiting list, and you'll be one of the first to get access to this. And it's going to be amazing. And again, people, they underestimate the power of email. But you have to remember this. Email is the key to the internet. You signed up to YouTube with email. You signed up to ChatGPT, Netflix with email. You log into your bank account with email. So people love email. They are very receptive to email marketing. But the caveat is if you're in business, you know that you're in sales. And if you're in sales, you know that there's rules to the game of sales. If you don't follow the rules, you're Sergey the sleazy salesman. You understand? Nobody wants to buy from you. You're the guy with the goatee and the pinky ring trying to sell some used Pinto whatever at an overpriced price. Like, it's just not going to work. And so with emails, you have the ability to sell, but you have to follow the rules of email. People respond to email, but there's such a low barrier to entry that there's spam out the wazoo. And so put your email in this link down below in the video, and you will be one of the first to get the dark horse method, and you'll be one of the first to be killing the game with email sales. People are going to be like, why don't you even pay attention to your social media? How are you making so many sales and you don't even have that big of a following on social media? And the reason why is email. And so like, comment, subscribe. You can find me on Rumble and YouTube under the same username. And have a good day. Don't stop trying. Learn. God is on your side. And catch you later.